Have you ever stopped to think about your body as this incredibly advanced piece of hardware? Well, if it is, then what's the operating system that runs the whole show? That's your nervous system. It's this insanely complex, high-speed network that handles every single thought, every sensation, every action you make. So today, let's take a look at the fundamental code that, well, makes you you.
So, here's our game plan. We're going to start with the big picture, the basic blueprint. Then we'll dive right into central command. From there, we'll get a closer look at the master processor itself, the brain, and then trace the massive information network that connects it all. We'll even figure out the difference between manual and automatic controls. And finally, put it all together to see how this incredible system is, well, you.
All right, so let's stick with our operating system analogy. Every great system, right, is built on a really clear architecture. The human nervous system is no different, and it all boils down to two main divisions that work together in perfect harmony. So, at the highest level, it's split into two main parts. First up, you have the central nervous system, or CNS for short. Just think of this as your body's main processor, the decision maker. It's the brain and the spinal cord. Then you've got the peripheral nervous system, the PNS. This is the rest of it, the vast network of cables and sensors that connects that central processor to literally every single part of your body. Okay, let's start with that central command, the CNS. This is mission control. It's where all the sensory data from your body and the outside world gets processed, and it's where all the big decisions are made. The CNS has two major components that are totally distinct but, completely inseparable. You've got the brain, the master processor that pulls everything together and figures out what to do. And then there's the spinal cord. This thing is the information superhighway, just shuttling signals back and forth between the brain and the body at unbelievable speeds. Now for the really cool part. Let's zoom in on the most complex and, honestly, the most fascinating part of this whole system, the brain. It's not just one big lump of tissue. It's more like a collection of highly specialized departments, and each one has a very specific job to do. Okay, so the biggest part of the brain is the cerebrum, and you can kind of think of it like a corporate headquarters with four major departments, or lobes. Right up front, you have the frontal lobe. That's the CEO handling all the high-level planning and conscious thought. The parietal lobe, kind of near the top, is like your operations department. It processes all the incoming sensory info, like touch and temperature. Over on the sides, the temporal lobes are like the company archives, managing everything you hear and all your memories. And way in the back, the occipital lobe is the design team. It is 100% dedicated to processing everything you see. Tucked away at the back of the brain is the cerebellum. This is your body's master of coordination. You know how you can walk without thinking about it, or ride a bike, or play the piano? That's all thanks to the cerebellum. It fine-tunes all your voluntary movements, making them smooth, seamless, and automatic. And finally, connecting the brain to the spinal cord, we have the brainstem. This is, and I'm not exaggerating, your body's life support system. It runs all the critical background processes that you never, ever have to think about. Things like breathing, your heart rate, and even your sleep cycles. So we've covered the central processor, but how does it actually talk to the rest of the body? Well, that's where the network comes in, the peripheral nervous system, the PNS. This is all of the body's essential wiring. Branching right off the brain itself are 12 pairs of cranial nerves. These are the dedicated fiber optic lines that handle all the sensory and motor functions for your head and neck. We're talking sight, smell, taste, facial movements, the whole deal. And that's not all. Extending out from the spinal cord, you've got a whopping 31 pairs of spinal nerves. These branch out to connect to every other part of your body, creating this massive network that's constantly sending information back to central command and carrying out its orders. Here is a perfect example of how the CNS and KNS work together in a flash. Imagine you touch a hot stove. A sensor in your hand, that's the PNS, sends an urgent screaming signal. Now, to save precious time, that signal doesn't go all the way to the brain. Instead, the spinal cord, part of the CNS, acts as a local command center. It makes an instant decision and sends a command right back down the PNS to your muscle. You pull your hand away before your brain even really registers what just happened. It's incredible. Now, believe it or not, within that huge peripheral network, there's another layer of organization. The system is basically split into parts you consciously control and parts that just run completely on their own in the background. The difference between these two is actually pretty simple. The somatic system is your manual control. It handles all the voluntary stuff, like deciding to walk across the room or talking. The autonomic system, on the other hand, is the autopilot. It regulates all the involuntary functions like your heartbeat, your breathing, digestion, all the stuff you're glad you don't have to remember to do. So, how does that autopilot system know when to speed things up or when to slow things down? Well, it's all a constant balancing act between two opposing but totally essential subsystems.
On one side, you've got the sympathetic system. This is your fight or flight response. When you get stressed or you sense danger, this system kicks into high gear. It jacks up your heart rate and makes you super alert. Its polar opposite is the parasympathetic system. This is your rest and digest mode. It's all about conserving energy, slowing your heart rate back down, and taking care of housekeeping tasks like digestion. These two are constantly working together to keep your body in balance.
Okay, we've looked at all the different parts, all the logs and nerves and systems. Now let's zoom back out and just appreciate how it all comes together to form one single, seamless system.
The real magic here is that you never notice the seams. When you decide to walk across the room, that conscious command is instantly and seamlessly supported by the cerebellum's coordination, the brainstem keeping your breathing steady, and the autonomic system managing your heart rate. It just all works together. It's one beautiful, unbelievably complex system. And all of this leaves us with a pretty deep question to think about. If this incredibly intricate biological network is responsible for everything we do, everything we think, and everything we feel, where does this sophisticated operating system end, and where do you actually begin?